Hello, everyone. This is Nanette Kennedy with Evolution Revolution and Humanities Team. And we are getting ready to start Chapter 2 of Friendship with God by Neale Donald Walsch. And welcome, everybody. And we'll go ahead and get started.
Okay.
Thank you, Linda.
This is Chapter 2, Friendship with God, Neale Donald Walsch. And Neale is speaking. The question I've been most frequently asked is, how do you know you're really talking to God? How do you know it's not your imagination? Or worse yet, the devil trying to trick you? The second most asked question, why you? Why did God pick you? And the third, what's life been like since all this happened? How have things changed? You would think that the most frequently asked questions would have to do with God's words, with the extraordinary insights and the breathtaking revelations and the challenging constructs of our dialogue. And there have been many of those inquiries, to be sure. But the most frequently asked questions had to do with the human side of this story. In the end, what we all want to know is about each other. We have an insatiable curiosity about our fellow human beings, more than just about anything else in the world. It's as if we somehow know that if we can learn more about one another, we can learn more about ourselves. And the yearning to know more about ourselves, about who we really are, is the deepest yearning of all. And so we ask questions about each other's experiences. Then more questions about each other's experiences than about each other's understandings. What was that like for you? How do you know it's true? What are you thinking right now? Why do you do these things? How come you feel that way? We're constantly trying to get into each other's skin. There's an internal guidance system that directs us intuitively and compellingly toward each other. I believe that there is a natural mechanism at the level of our genetic code, which contains universal intelligence. This intelligence informs our most basic responses as sentient beings. It takes eternal wisdom to the cellular level, creating what some have called the law of attraction. I believe we're attracted to each other inherently, out of a deep knowing that in each other we will find ourselves. We may not be aware of this consciously. We may not articulate this specifically, but I think that we understand this cellularly. And I believe that this microcosmic understanding derives from a macrocosmic one. I believe we know at the higher level that we are all one. It is this supreme awareness that pulls us toward each other. And it is the ignoring of it that creates the deepest loneliness of the human heart and every misery of the human condition. This is what my conversation with God has shown me, that every sadness of the human heart, every indignity of the human condition, every tragedy of the human experience can be attributed to one human decision, the decision to withdraw from each other, the decision to ignore our supreme awareness, the decision to call natural attraction that we have for each other bad, and our oneness a fiction. In this, we have denied our true selves, and it is from this self-denial that all our negativity has sprung. All of our rage, all of our disappointment, all of our bitterness has found its birth in the death of our greatest joy, the joy of being one. And the conflict of the human encounter is that even as we seek at the cellular level to experience our oneness, we insist at the mental level on denying it. Thus, our thoughts about life and how it is are out of alignment with our deepest inner knowing. In essence, we are acting every day against our instincts. And this has led to our present madness, in which we persist in acting out the insanity of separateness, all while yearning to know the joy of oneness once again. Can the conflict ever be resolved? Yes. It will in the end, when we resolve our conflict with God. And that is the reason for this book. This is a book I had no idea I was going to write. Like Conversations with God, it was given to me to share. I thought that when the Conversations with God trilogy was finished, so too would be my career as an author by accident. Then I sat down to write the acknowledgement page for the guidebook to book 1, and I had what felt like a mystical experience. I'm telling you what happened then so that you can better understand why this book is being written now. When they heard that I was writing this book, some people said to me, I thought there was only supposed to be a trilogy. It was as if producing more material somehow violated the integrity of the original process. So I want you to know how this book happened, how it became clear to me that I had to write it, even though now, as I sit here, I have no idea where it's going or what it has to say. It was spring 1997, and I had completed the work on the guidebook. I was nervously awaiting reaction from my publisher, Hampton Roads. Finally, the call came. Hey, Neil, great book, Bob Friedman said. You mean it? You're not kidding? There was always a part of me that can't believe the best and is expecting to hear the worst. So I was ready for him to say, I'm sorry, we can't accept this. You'll have to do a complete rewrite. Of course I mean it, Bob chuckled. Why would I lie to you about something like that? You think I want to publish a bad book? Well, I just thought you might be trying to make me feel good. Trust me, Neil, I'm not going to try to make you feel good by telling you you've got a great book if you've got a stinker. Okay, I said warily. Bob chuckled again. Man, you authors are the most insecure people I know. You can't even believe someone whose livelihood depends on telling you the truth. I'm telling you, it's a great book. It's going to help a lot of people. I let out my breath. Oh, okay, I believe you. There's only one thing. I knew it. I knew it. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. You just didn't send any acknowledgments. We just wanted to know whether you had any acknowledgments and forgot that page, or if you want it to run without any. That's all. That's all? That's all. Thank God. Bob laughed. Are those your acknowledgments? They might as well be, I told Bob. I told Bob I'd email him something right away. When I hung up, I let out a yelp. What's that about? My wife Nancy called from the next room. I marched in triumphantly. Bob says the book is great. Oh, good, she beamed. Do you really think he means it? Nancy rolled her eyes and smiled. I'm sure Bob's not going to lie to you about that. Well, that's just what he said. There's one thing, though. What? I've got to write the acknowledgments. Well, that's no problem. You can knock that off in 15 minutes. Obviously, my wife should have been a publisher. So I sat down on a Saturday morning and began my task asking myself, whom do I want to acknowledge in the front of this guidebook? Immediately, my mind said, well, God, of course. Yes, I argued with myself, but I thank God for everything, not just this book. Then do it, my mind argued back. So I picked up a pen and wrote, for the entirety of my life, and anything good or decent or creative or wonderful I may have done with it, I thank my dearest friend and closest companion, God. I remember surprising myself with the way I put that. I had never described God in quite that way, and I became consciously aware that this was exactly the way I felt. Sometimes it is only as I am writing that I come to know exactly how I feel. Have you ever had that experience? There I was writing this, and I suddenly realized, I do have a friendship with God. That's just how it feels. And so my mind said, so write that down. Go ahead and say that. I began the second paragraph of the acknowledgement. I have never known such a wonderful friendship. That's exactly what it feels I have going here, and I want to never miss an opportunity to acknowledge it. Then I wrote something without having any idea why. Someday, I hope to explain to everyone in minute detail just how to develop such a friendship and how to use it. For God wants most of all to be used. And that's what we want as well. We want a friendship with God, one that's functional and useful. At precisely that moment, my hand froze. A chill went up my back. I felt a major rush inside my body. I sat quietly for a moment, stunned into a complete awareness of something that a moment before I had no thought of, but which now seemed perfectly obvious. This particular experience was not new. I'd had it often while writing conversations with God. A few words, a few sentences would fly out of my mind. And when I saw them on paper in front of me, I would suddenly be clear that this is what is so, even though a few minutes before I had no idea about this. The experience was usually followed by some kind of physical sensation, a sudden tingling, or what I call a happy trembling, or sometimes tears of joy, and on occasion all three. This time, it was all three, a triple whammy. So I knew that what I had written was absolute truth. Then I received an important personal revelation, and this too has happened before. The feeling is one of abruptly being aware of something in its totality. It all at once. What I was caused to know, this is the only way I can describe it, is that I was not going to be finished with my writing at the end of the trilogy. It was suddenly clear that there were going to be at least 2 more books, and then a knowingness about these books. And what they would have to say swept over me. I heard God's voice whisper, Neil, your relationship with me is no different from your relationship with each other. You begin your interactions with each other with a conversation. If that goes well, you form a friendship. If that goes well, you experience a sense of oneness, communion with the other person. It is the exact same way with me. First, we have a conversation. Each of your experiences, your conversations with God in your own way, and in different ways at different times. It will always be a 2-way conversation, such as the one we're having right now. It could be a conversation in your head, or on paper, or with my responses taking a little more time and reaching you in the form of the next song you hear, or the next movie you see, or the next lecture you attend, or the next magazine article you read, or in the chance utterance of a friend whom you just happened to run into on the street. Once you have become clear that we are always in communication, then we can move into friendship. Ultimately, we will experience communion. You are, therefore, to write 2 more books, Friendship with God and Communion with God. The first will deal with how to take the principles shared in your conversations with God and turn your new relationship, into a fully functioning friendship. The second will reveal how to elevate that friendship into the experience of communion and what will happen when you do. It will provide a blueprint for every seeker of truth and will contain breathtaking message for all humankind. You and I are one right now. You simply don't know it. You do not choose to experience it any more than you know or choose to experience your oneness with each other. Your books, Neil, will end that division for all those who read them. They will destroy the illusion of separation. This is your assignment. This is your work. You are to destroy the illusion of separation. This was always the mission. It was never anything less. Your conversation with God were always and only the beginning. Well, I was stunned. Another chill went up my back. I began to feel an inner tremble, and that kind that no one can detect but you feel in every cell of your body. And that's what's happening, of course. Every cell of your body is vibrating at a faster rate, oscillating at a higher frequency, dancing with the energy of God. That's a very good way of putting it. That's a wonderful metaphor. Whoa, hold it. I didn't know you were going to show up so soon. I was just relating you had said before in 1997. I know. I couldn't help it. I was going to wait until somewhere in the middle of the book, but you started writing very poetically and I couldn't stay away. Nice. That's nice. Well, it's almost automatic, really. Whenever you write lyrically, speak poetically, smile lovingly, sing a song or dance a dance, I have to show up. You do? Let me put it to you this way. I'm always there in your life. Always. But you become much more conscious of me, of my presence, when you do these things. When you smile, or love, or sing, or dance, or write from your heart. This is the highest version of who I am. And when you are expressing these qualities, you're expressing me. I mean that literally. You're expressing me. That is pushing me out. You're taking me from inside of you, where I always reside, and showing me on the outside of you. And so I seem to be just showing up. The truth is, I'm always there. And you are only in these moments aware of me. Yes, well, I had a lot more I was going to say before I got into another dialogue with you. Well, go ahead and say it. Excuse me, it's hard to ignore you. Once you're here, it's difficult to pretend like you're not. It's like that stockbroker who speaks and nobody listens. Now that you've opened up the dialogue, who wants to hear from me? A lot of people do. Probably everybody does. They want to hear how it's been for you. They want to know what you've learned. Don't retreat just because I've shown up. That's the problem with so many people. God shows up and they think they have to get smaller. They think they have to humble themselves. We aren't supposed to humble ourselves in the presence of God. I have not come to humble you, but to exalt you. You have? When you are exalted, so too am I. And when you are humbled, so too am I. There's only one of us. You and I are one. Yes, that's what I was getting to. I was going there. So go. Don't let me stop you. Tell the people reading this all about your experience. They do want to know about that. You were right about that. As people get to know you, they get to know themselves. They'll see themselves in you. And if they see that in you is me, then they'll see that I am in them as well. And this will be a great gift. So go ahead, tell your story. Well, I was saying that every cell in my body seemed to be shaking, vibrating, oscillating. I was trembling, a wonderful tremble of excitement, and a tear dropped out of one eye, made its way down my cheek, and salted my tongue as I licked it from my beard. I was having that feeling again. I thought I would overflow from the inside out with love. I couldn't write another word for the acknowledgments. I had to do something with what I had just been given. I wanted to begin writing friendship with God right then and there. Hey, 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 you can't do that, my mind admonished. You haven't even written book 3 yet. Book 3, of course, refers to the third installment in the Conversations with God trilogy. I knew that I had to finish that trilogy before I dared start on another project. Still, I wanted to do something with the energy that was coursing through my veins. So I decided to call my editor at my other publishers, the Putnam Publishing Group in New York. You're not going to believe this, I blurted out when she answered the phone. But I've just been given the subject of 2 more books and a command to write them. I never command anyone to do anything. Well, I think I used the word command with my editor. Maybe I should have said, and the inspiration to write them. That would have been a better word, a more accurate word. I was excited. I was so excited. I wasn't watching every word I used, measuring them for accuracy. I understand. And yet this is precisely the kind of thing that has, through the years, created a false impression about me. I have come here now to correct that impression. I've come to tell you what it's like to have a true friendship with God and how you can have one. I'm excited all over again. Begin. Finish your story. Who wants to hear about that? I want to hear about this. Finish your story. It has relevance. It will bring us to the present day. Well, I told my editor just what you said, what you told me about the next 2 books, and she flipped. I asked her if she thought Putnam would be interested in publishing them. Are you kidding? Of course we would, she said, adding that she'd like to have me write up a little summary of what I just told her here. I faxed something the next day, and the company very kindly gave me a 2-book contract. Why didn't you just put the books on the internet? What? Why didn't you just make them available for free? Why are you asking me this? Because it's what many people want to know. Did the publishers offer you a lot of money? Well, yes. Why did you agree to take it? If you were a man of God, you would agree to share this information with the world at no charge. You wouldn't run around signing multi-book contracts. Isn't that what some people are saying? Yes, exactly. They are saying that. They're saying I'm in it for the money. Well, I'm not in it for the money, but that's no reason not to take it. A man of God would not do it. He wouldn't? Don't priests take salaries? Don't rabbis eat? Yes, but not very much. Teachers of God live in poverty. They don't demand a fortune for sharing simple truth. Well, I didn't demand a fortune. I didn't demand anything. I was offered it. You should have turned it down. Why? Who says the money's bad? If I have a chance to earn a great deal of money by sharing eternal truth, why shouldn't I? Besides, if I had dreams of doing extraordinary things, what if I had dreams of doing extraordinary things with some of it? What if I had dreams of setting up and funding a not-profit foundation that would carry your message around the world? What if I had dreams of making the lives of others better? It might help a bit. That might make me not so mad. And what if I simply gave a great deal of it away? What if I helped others in need? That would also help. We would understand. We could begin to accept. But you yourself should live very modestly. You should not spend it on yourself. I shouldn't? I shouldn't celebrate who I am? I shouldn't live in magnificence, have a beautiful home, drive a new car? No. Neither should you have fancy clothes, nor eat in expensive restaurants, nor buy luxurious things. You should give all the money to the poor. Live as if it doesn't matter. But that's how I do live. I live as if money doesn't matter. I spend it freely and I give it away easily and I share it generously and act actually just that way, as if it doesn't matter. When I see something expensive that I'd like to have or do, I act as if the money doesn't matter. And when my heart calls out to me to assist another or to do something magnificent in the world, I also act as if money doesn't matter. You keep acting that way with your money and you're going to lose it all. You mean use it all. You can't lose money, you can only use it. Money is used, is not lost. Somebody has it. It hasn't disappeared. The question is, who has it? If it went to people who sold me things or did things for me I wanted done, how did I lose anything? And if it goes to doing good things or meeting the needs of others, where is the loss in that? And if you don't hold on to it, you won't have any left. I don't hold on to anything I have. I've learned that it's when I hold on to something that I lose it. If I hold on to love, I may as well not have any. If I hold on to money, it's worthless. The only way to have the experience of having anything is to give it away. Then and only then can you know that you have it. You've escaped my larger point. With your neat verbal gymnastics, you've sidestepped the issue entirely. But I'm not going to let you get away with it. I'm going to drag you back. The point is that people who teach the real word of God do not and should not do it for money. Who told you that? You did. I did. Yes, you did. All your life you said that. Until you wrote these books and made lots of money. What made you change? You did. I did. You did. You told me that money was not the root of all evil, that I might decide what the misuse of it was. You told me that life is created for us to enjoy and that it was okay to do that, more than okay. You told me that money was no different from anything else in life, that it was all God's energy. You told me that there was nowhere that you are not, that you are not expressed in, around and through everything, indeed, that you are everything, all in all, and that includes money. You told me that all my life I have held an inaccurate view about money, that I'd made it wrong, dirty, unworthy, and that when I did this, I was making God wrong, dirty, and unworthy, because money is a part of who you are. You told me that I had created an interesting life philosophy in which money was bad and love was good. Therefore, the more loving or important to society a thing was, the less money I or anyone should make from it. In this, you told me half the world has it backwards. We pay our strippers and our first basemen unfathomable sums to do what they do, while our scientists who search for a cure for AIDS, and the teachers in the classrooms with our children, and the ministers and the rabbis and the priests who look after our souls live on bread and water. You told me that this created an upside-down world in which the things we value most receive the least reward. And you told me that not only did this not work if we really want to create the world the way we want to create, but even unnecessary, but it is not even necessary because it is not your will at all. You told me that your will was that every human being live luxuriously and that there was nothing wrong with luxury, and that only problem here on earth is that we haven't learned how to share it, even after these thousands of years. You also made it clear that I don't teach the world anything about the real truth of money by shunning it. I only encourage the world's dysfunction by modeling that dysfunction myself. You said that it would be far more powerful teaching if I joyfully accepted money, and indeed all good things in life, and joyfully shared these things as well. I told you these things? Yes, without equivocation. And you believed me? I sure did. In fact, these new beliefs changed my life. Good. That's very good. You've learned well, my son. You've heard well and you've learned well. I knew it. You were just testing me. I knew that you were just wanting to know to see if I could answer those questions. Hang on, I got a cough. Yes, but now I have more questions for you. Oh boy. Why should people have to pay for this message? Forget about why you think it's okay to receive the money for it. Why should people have to give money for it? Shouldn't the Word of God be free for all? Why not just put it on the internet? Because some people are jamming the internet night and day with thousands of words telling people about their beliefs and why others should adopt them. Have you surfed the web lately? There's no end to it. We've opened Pandora's box. Can you imagine how many people would have paid attention had I jumped on the internet when this all began to announce that I was having conversations with God? Do you really think that would have been news on the internet? Excuse me. Okay, but now your books have become very popular. Everyone knows about them. Why not put them on the internet now? The reason people know about the CWG books have value, that they have value, is because other people have given something they value for them. It is the value that people have placed in them which causes them to have the value they have. All of life is people doing good things for another. That's all any of us are doing here. That's all our offering. Oh, that's all just offering the world our goods. When the world agrees that what we offer is worthwhile, whether it's fixing plumbing, baking bread, healing others, or teaching truth, the world says it is valuable. That is, able to have value. And if we give a value by offering in exchange something of value which is ours, we not only receive the value we give, we make that thing at once more valuable for others as well. And so, others are drawn to it, for people will always seek to find value in their lives. Our system of commerce allows us to determine what is valuable and what is not. It's not a perfect system, nor are our decisions about what to value. But this imperfect system is what we've got now. I'm working within that system to change it. What about poor people who can't afford your books? There are books in nearly every home in this country. It is not a question of whether there are books, but of which books there are. Conversations with God may be found, furthermore, at virtually every library, and it is made available through the Books for Friends program to people who are in prison and others in need. So I'm not getting here that the material is not available. It's been translated into many languages, and people are finding their ways to it throughout the world, from Hong Kong to Tel Aviv, from Poland to Japan, from Berlin to Boston. People are reading it, studying it in groups, and sharing it with others. I will acknowledge, however, that there have been tough questions for me. This whole issue of money in my life and what is appropriate to have and to do has plagued me for decades. As you've said, I'm no different from most of the human race. Even today, there is a part of me that thinks I should denounce the fame, denounce the financial abundance, and every other reward the Conversations with God trilogy has brought me. There's a huge part of me that wants to wear a hair shirt, live in a hovel, and accept nothing of the world's goods for whatever good I've given the world. My idea is that this would somehow render it worthy. Do you see how insidious this is? I've set up a communication in which I ask other people to value that for which I would take nothing of value. Yet how can I expect others to value that that I do not? That is not a question I ask myself. It's too deep for me, nor too close to the core issue. And what value do I place on myself if I believe I must suffer for others to see my value? Another core issue, another topic to ignore. But since you've raised the issue, I ask, is Ted Turner less valuable than Mother Teresa? Is George Soros less of a good person than Che Guevara? Are the politics of Jesse Jackson, who appears to have plenty of the good things in life, less worthy than the politics of Vladimir Havel, who may have less? Should the Pope, whose very garments cost more than it would take to feed a poor child for a year, have his words called blasphemy because he lives like a king as the head of a church which owns billions? Ted Turner and George Soros have given away billions of dollars. They've empowered the dreams of humanity with the rewards of their own dreams lived. To empower the dreams of humanity with the living of our own dreams, what a magnificent idea. Jesse Jackson has brought hope to millions with the hope that brought him to a place of great influence. The Pope has inspired people throughout the world and would be of no more inspiration to the world's Catholics, indeed convincingly a great deal less, were he to appear in rags. So I have come to terms with the fact that the conversations with God experience has brought me more of the good things in life and given me more of the good things to share. I want to point out here, however, that the publication of these books was not the cause of this happening. You put the cause into place before the books were published. In fact, that is why they were published and why they became so popular. Yes, I see that that's true. You can be sure that it is. Your life and your reality around money and all good things changed when you changed. They changed for you when you changed your mind about them. Well, now, you see, I thought you did that. I keep telling people that these books became popular because you wanted them to be. In fact, I'm kind of attracted to the idea that this was all the will of God. Of course you are. That relieves you of responsibility for it, and furthermore, gives the whole thing higher credential. So I hate to burst your bubble here, but this was not my idea. It wasn't? No, it was yours. Oh, great. So now I can't even say that I was inspired by God? But what about this book I'm writing, this very book I'm writing? You came to me and told me to do this. Okay, this is a good place to start as any, as our discussion on how to have a friendship with God.
Thank you, Linda. Beautifully read as usual. Anybody have any opening comments? Go ahead, Donna.
I've been wanting to interrupt Linda since she started.
She withheld.
I zipped up my mouth and sat on my hands successfully. So here's the whole story as far as I'm concerned. It ended right here in the last little bit. Is Neil wants essentially credibility. That's his bottom line. Is I don't really believe any of this, and I want to pin everything on God. This was your your idea. You appeared. I'm stuck. Heck, I'll make money now. You know. Does that sound right? Essentially, that's what I get out of it. And we could all claim that too in this group. Is gee, Nanette sends those stupid memos. Now we're stuck with sitting here and listening to Linda. Ugh, you know, like we didn't have a choice. And now we'll have to be better because, well, what else can we do? So my meditation now is only this, that life is all gray. It's not black or white. And God can cut to the chase or not, and Neil can rationalize or not. That the point is we're all here, and our intention is to be love, to be truth, and to bring upliftment. That's all. Getting into discussions is a mind thing. My meditation here and now is a heart thing. That we want our hearts to be opened wider so that more truth, more love, more light comes out. We don't care who that affects. I mean, you know, when the light is shining in the lighthouse, the thing is spinning around. If the ships catch it or not, that's not the problem. The dance is what the lighthouse is enjoying. So that's what we're doing here, is let's dance, and who cares who listens or watches? Is that okay? Like, let's just enjoy being the best we can be for our own pleasure. And who cares who it affects? We're not the saviors. I mean, you know, my favorite joke is Jesus died and left you to save the world or something. You know, I like that line. Let's get out of that and just have fun, but with the intention of truth and love. Is that agreeable? Okay. So we're meditating now on the truth and love that our wide open hearts are spreading at the cellular level in our own bodies, in Linda's body, Nanette's body, my body, Sarah's body, Kirsten's body, and Angela's body. Let the atoms and molecules, the cells, and every material part of us be the first to dance, because our heart chakras are open wider than ever, simply for the joy of being alive here and now. Amen.
Thank you, Shabana.
I'm so proud of myself for getting your name right, Kirsten. Must have been God's idea. I'm not taking responsibility for anything. Let's pin it all on him.
You saved the best name for last. No, I'm kidding. That's ego talking.
I got done pronounced you right. Can't blame God for everything.
That wasn't too long, that chapter.
It was a little longer than most of them, but it's okay.
Yeah.
It's all fine and good. I think one of the reasons when you said something about, the meditation is in the heart, not the mind,
Mm-hmm.
I felt like my heart was really open while Linda was reading. And of course, my mind was there as well. But the whole conversation about money, or I should say, and the whole conversation about money, is I was starting to get a little bit confused because I was thinking, I could swear that God says money isn't bad. Nothing is inherently bad or inherently good. And then when it started to come around that God was kind of toying with Neil, and I think it's okay that Neil wants to give God the credit because God, if God is in all of us, and I can't remember, I'm a writer myself. I'm not as prolific as Neil. But something I had written, and I'd met a friend through a humanities team who lived in Ireland. And he read a short story I wrote, or a poem or something. I don't know what it was. And he definitely believed in oneness and that God was within us all. And he said how blessed you were to have held the pen. And I remember that just sent chills up my spine. And it's in that moment that you think, like, first of all, it was a beautiful thing to say. And to me, what this friend of mine was saying was, don't forget that you've got the God inside of you. And you've got the inspiration inside of you. Anybody else over?
Yeah, it's just the courage to write it, too. Like, I got several things back from my poem. It was an inner being poem, and they just said, you have the courage to write it. My garden thanks you, or it was a beautiful remark about the poem, and I just thought, that's really it. She's saying, you had the pen, you had the courage to write it down on paper. Most people wouldn't, I guess, is what she was trying to say. But it was very nice.
And the decency of the man to truthfully, you were blessed to have the pen. He was blessed to open his mouth and let God compliment you. In the end, we're cutting the agency. It's him doing it. So that was actually a joke when I said, I pronounced Kirsten's name properly. Kirsten's. God slipping up again.
Yep. And has everybody here seen the movie Oh God with George Burns?
Yes.
Okay. Sarah, you've got to go out and find it somewhere on the internet. He smokes a cigar, and he's got a really great sense of humor, which is how I've always believed God is.
Yep.
God has a sense of humor.
Yeah.
And he goes, I don't do everything perfectly. He goes, take the seed in an avocado. It's a little bit big, but it gave me great joy. And I do most of the posting on the Humanities Team Worldwide page. I've got a few helpers, but I do a big part of that. And if I put up something funny, somebody will say, what's this have to do with being spiritual or anything? I said, I've written back and said, don't you think God has got a sense of humor? We wouldn't have humor.
True.
Anyway, I just bring that up because whenever I do that, somebody will make a comment about what's this got to do with being inspired and inspirational. And I think it's got a lot to do with it, because if we can't laugh, I don't know about you guys, but I'd love to laugh, and I know Shabana does. I know everyone
I love to laugh.
does. You know,
My favorite thing is smiling and laughing.
you know, the Mary Poppins movie. I love the song. I love to laugh.
Oh yeah.
And they all kind of float up towards the ceiling because they
Yeah.
get lighter with a sense of humor. But over.
That's it. One gift.
I was pretty annoyed with the blah 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 about. I mean, the first thing that comes to Neil's mind is, thank you, God, you're my only friend, you're my best friend, I love you, right? No, he has to blather on. So I've sent everyone a prayer or something on the chat. It's I follow Sufi orders. Those are mystical, whatever. And this poem was written by a Persian mystic, a very, very famous, a lighthouse, at least 800 years ago. And this is what it's all about, I think, for me, anyway.
Is this Rumi?
No, someone different. His name is Sheikh Bousaid. I mean, words, I'll write it down. But he was way before Rumi. But he's quite a guy for me. He picked me out. And I lived in New Brunswick, which is, ignorant city in Canada. I'm not judgmental, like.
No, but you know what? I could tell it was Sufi, just because the way it reads, and I do happen to be a very large Rumi fan. In fact, I named one of my dogs Rumi, and whenever I would take it to the vet would say Rummy.
Right, of course.
It's not Rummy.
Rummy.
It's
Rummy.
Rumi. But thank you for posting that. I'm going to look that person up.
He'll find you in the net. Don't worry.
Well, I think he just did.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. The funny thing is, I mean, just to reflect my ignorance at the time. So I go to you have to walk upstairs in the stacks at the University of Manitoba, and I, pull out this. I mean, the book magnetized me to it, and a few other Sufi saints. So I said, well, who ordered this? Because I wanted to go make friends with whoever it was that ordered it. Nobody knew, nobody cared, Like, the message was, shut up and read the book, mind your own business. If you need someone, I'll find them for you. This is my gift. Enjoy it. You know? So like when you're telling me you got to find him, he'll find you. You know, and then you said, yeah, I found him, you know?
Yep.
So it's not as if we're invisible. Our vibrations radiate.
Mhm.
Yep, they do. And I just want to say before we say goodbye that next week, before we start the recording, I may do it on the recording. I'll tell you about a book that found me and how bizarre that was. And
Great.
but it was a good bizarre.
Neat.
Anyway, happy Valentine's Day to everybody.
Yeah, I'm Valentine's Day.
Big hearts,
Big hearts.
So, all right. I love you guys. And until next week, and thank you, Linda. Thank you, Shabana. Thank you, Sarah and Angela and Kirsten. All right. And
Blessings.
all right. Love you all.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Next week.
Next week.